If you looked at the thumbnail and asked yourself, is he ever going to do the thing? Don't worry, we did the thing. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for what is probably going to be a spicy legacy video. Today, we are going to attempt to madness an Eldrazi creature into play. And that's something that is wild, and I'm very here for it. And hopefully we do it a handful of times. So, Emrakul, the World Anew, at 12 mana. When you cast it, you gain control of all creatures target player controls. Am I 30 seconds into the video yet? Can I swear? Yes, I believe that I can. Fuck you, Psychic Frog! You're mine now! Murktide Regent, get over to this side of the battlefield, baby! Eldrazi creatures on the other side, whatever, it is mine now. Flying, protection from spells and from permanents that were cast this turn. When it leaves the battle, sacrifice all creatures you control, which are, coincidentally, probably your opponent's creatures, so you probably don't care about that part. And we can madness this in for half of its mana cost. So today, we are hoping to get to 6 mana, discard an Emrakul, cast an Emrakul, and win. Sean sent me a partial deck list, so this is what I got from Sean. The overall idea here is actually pretty solid. Play Planar Nexus alongside Urza's Tower so that you can line up and very quickly end up with a bunch of mana. And we are going to use things like either the Underworld Cookbook or Currency Converter to draw and discard cards and then discard our Emrakul, the World Anew. The rest of the deck is meant to be this kind of fast mana, ramp into the One Ring, Karn, Giant Kozilek's command sort of stuff. But it looks a little rough around the edges. So number one, I have never been impressed by Forsaken Monument. It seems like it should do a ton, but in reality, I'm not really sure that it does. You are taking a turn off when you are reaching a large amount of mana. I consider 5 to be a large amount of mana. To play something that is going to jump you ahead by a couple of points of mana, instead of just playing something that might start winning the game. So this is probably going to go. Next up, it feels really weird to be playing some of these cards in the numbers that are in the deck. 2 One Ring feels weird. 3 Kozilek's command feels weird. 2 Disruptor Flute feels weird. 3 Urza's Tower? Urza's Tower feels weird. So what I'm going to do now is take a few minutes. I'm going to retool this deck list a little bit and build a sideboard for this thing, and we'll kind of see where we end up at. Okay, here's what I came up with after my edits. So one of the first things that I did was get rid of City of Traders. City of Traders is very good at accelerating us to exactly 6 mana, or if we do have a way to immediately discard our Emrakul, the World Anew. But City of Traders, alongside Urza's Saga, may just give us too many disappearing lands. So I opted to throw some Cloudposts and Glimmerposts into the deck list to help pad that out. Scrolling down a little bit, we're going to keep an Urza's Workshop and add in an Echoing Deeps into the mana base here, so we can bring back some of our lands if they do get wastelanded. Next thing I did was increase the number of copies of the One Ring, and then add an Olamog the Ceaseless Hunger. I want to make sure that we have a catch-all answer to absolutely everything that Legacy has to offer. And this is just 2 target permanents, get them out. That is a good way to buy a lot of time. One thing that I considered doing, because I think it would be powerful, is adding green into this deck list for Sowing Mycospawn, but I felt like that was drifting away too far from the original deck list. So we're going to keep this as a colorless deck and not add in green for things like Sowing Mycospawn, Crop Rotation, Force of Vigor, that sort of stuff. I tweaked the 1-drops a little bit, adding in a Voltaic key instead of just the strictly better Manifold Key, because Pithing Needle effects do exist within this format, and I don't want to lose access to this effect if I'm going to try to untap Grim Monoliths and Basalt Monoliths. So this leaves us with a couple angles of attack. We can just Urza Saga, beat down, win the game in that capacity, and we have a lot of artifacts to do so. We can get an early Karn and Karn Wish for something, including a Nettle Cyst that I've just added as a giant artifact-based body, and take over the game that way. We can try to bury our opponents in cards. We can try to hardcast large Eldrazi, or we can try to cheat an Emrakul into play. There's a lot of ways to build the sideboard, and it'll probably be pretty apparent after a couple of rounds what adjustments need to be done, but I made a reasonable wish board while also saving enough room so that I could actually sideboard in some things, with a focus on the graveyard and smaller creatures in this deck list here. We don't have the utility lands like Maze of Ith and Tabernacle that we would get if we added Sowing Mycospawn into the deck list. So having some early answers to the Delvers and DRCs of the world is probably a decent idea. I put 2 Tormod's Crypts into the deck list so that I can board 1 in and then have another to tutor for off Karn. Although now that I'm thinking about Vexing Bauble, let's maybe split those effects. Yeah, let's split that between a Tormod's Crypt and a Soul Guide Lantern because of Vexing Bauble. So yeah, let's see if we can Madness and Emrakul into play. Should you need your copies of Emrakul, the World Anew, or any other newer cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Tales of Adventure is known for their old awesome cards like Duels and Power, but they keep all the standard stuff in stock too, usually having about 95% of standard legal things in stock at any given time, and promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order to boot, and let them know to keep supporting my content. That being said, let's go Emrakul. Okay, our opening hand for round 1 is very close to doing a lot of broken things. And I'm going to assume that we will gain the ability to do something broken if I keep this hand. Yeah, I was planning on playing a Glimmer Post, but yeah, let's just do that. It means I don't use any mana this turn. I was going to use 3 mana to play a Basalt Monolith, so fuck. Next turn, I can have, if I play Glimmer Post, 3, 6, 7 mana. Like, I can already be in range of casting this Emrakul, like, very quickly. I can have 7 Basalt Monolith, 8, 9, 10. The following turn, 11 with a land drop. I play the 1 ring and Basalt Monolith on my turn. Discard an Urza's Tower. Nice. Alright, so Glimmer Post, gain 3 life, 4 mana, play the 1 ring. That's a great counterspell from my opponent. 3 mana, Basalt Monolith. I play Glimmer Post next turn. I discard Echoing Deeps. I have 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 mana. On cast trigger, take your Archon. Hopefully this works. So I'm still discarding my card here. That portion of this does not target, which means that that does happen. Play another creature. Play a fucking Psychic Frog. I won't care. J Liddy, play your frog. Damn it. Alright. So, gain some life. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm just going to count again. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it is safe for me to go ahead and play a Voltaic Key. On tap. Cast. Cast it. Yes. Yes. Stifle. Now it seems like my opponent has Force of Will. Alright. That is counterable, but I still get their Archon, which is a 2-turn clock that will also draw me some cards, and I can be drawing towards Eldrazi. Like, if my opponent puts an Atraxa into play without answering my Archon, that does not actually do them any good here. Fuck yeah, baby! Madness Emrakul, let's go! Okay, so now the question becomes, how much do I board against the graveyard portion of my opponent's deck list? And this is something really frustrating about playing against these like Psychic Frog Reanimator decks is that the Tamios and the Psychic Frogs and, Delvers or whatever other tempo creatures our opponent is playing are just as threatening and can win the game just as easily as Entomb Reanimate can. So, we need to be careful in sideboarding. I'm probably just going to get rid of Karn the Great Creator. That is a very dazeable card. I think that's going to be one of the ways that I make room. I'll probably make room by junking this as well. Expedition Map also feels slow. This gives me a decent number of slots to work with. I have up to 6 Graveyard Hate cards that I can play, and I also have Dismembers that I can play. Disruptor Flute's not crazy either, but I probably don't get all of this stuff. I could just not Emrakul. That is perhaps reasonable to free up a little more room. That could give me something like the Ley Lines plus some number of Dismembers. And I could do something like sneak one of these out to put a piece of Graveyard Hate in. And something like this feels okay. This does not have enough mana. This is a mulligan. This isn't perfect. This is probably going to be a keep. It's either the 4th land or the Emrakul that goes. I think the secondary Ancient Tomb can go here. All right, no initial creature from my opponent, which means that I can go ahead and just lead on my Cloudpost. The 1 ring plus a key is relatively strong. All right, good. No end of turn Entomb. Having to play against both powerful creatures like Psychic Frog and Entomb plus Reanimate is a very frustrating play pattern that a lot of people, myself included, are pretty sick of. All right, this is actually not bad for us because this is a dismemberable creature. Oops, more Emrakul. So, Glimmerpost. Gain a little life. This is going to cost us 4 life, but will save us 2 life in this turn cycle, assuming that this works. It does. My opponent can just bring it back with another Reanimate or Animate Dead. I'm not pressuring their life total here. But starting next turn, I get to do cool things. Now, unfortunately, I do have a handful of Ley Lines in my deck now that I will potentially draw at a critical moment. Sure. Voltaic Key. You got it. So, 2 and 4. Play the 1 ring. Worth 6 life immediately. Negative. Force of Will pitching Daze. That is quite bad. Ooh, there's a pause on this Voltaic Key. That might mean that my opponent has another Daze here. And they're thinking about whether or not they want to recycle that land drop. So as of right now, I have 2, 4, 5 mana. A Grim Monolith would be a fantastic draw here. I'm at 10 already, though. This is exactly what I was talking about, right? I don't have a lot of time. Grim Monolith do it next turn. Oh, Bowmasters. Yikes. So that puts me to 9. I take 8 damage in combat. Ancient Tomb can't be tapped anymore. I think that's curtains for me. We just got trolled in the most literal sense. All right. That doesn't give me another turn, right? So that is just 3 life going to 4. Yeah, very, very much no. Yeah, it's a shame we don't have a discard outlet for the Emrakul. Like, we could have, in theory, drawn something like the Underworld Cookbook and gotten there. Okay, so I can make some small adjustments here. Unsure if it is correct to. I'm going to say that something in this general ballpark is fine. Yes, I am down with this. We're not doing a very good job of drawing those Leyline of the Voids, but it's not like I want to mulligan this hand. This hand has a lot of oomph. Okay, cool. All right. So we're going to Planar Nexus here. I'm going to play a Vexing Bauble. And this is where my opponent can do a Force of Will effect if they have one. I'll then play a Manifold Key. And I made a small error here. I should have just tapped Cloudpost for the 2 mana to play both of these, and then I could have had Dismember available for my opponent's turn. So that is just an error on my part. We're not immediately punished with Entomb or Troll Cycle. So that's good. Wasteland is great. Opponent goes for my Cloudpost. So I can Glimmer Post, gain a couple of life, and then do an effectively uncounterable One Ring the following turn. Yikes. Sure. I think I'm going to leave the Vexing Bauble in play. If I miss on some land drops, I might need to crack it, but we're looking okay at least for right now. I am at above my starting life total, which is good because I'm about to do some gross Ancient Tomb things. Alright. Play the One Ring. We can pay for a hardcast Daze. My opponent could have a colorless counterspell here. I'm just blanking on the name right now. The Modern Horizons replicate one. Okay, we're in play. Bowmasters can't be played right now. I'm going to go ahead and draw my card immediately. Thank you, Leyline of the Void. You are right on time. And we'll see if my opponent does something scary like Entomb here. Negative. This is lucky for us. And no giant fatty surveilled. Alright. Am I into this? I think I'm into this. Go ahead and draw now. Okay, we can continue to untap this thing further. So, I am interested in starting here. I think there's a decent chance my opponent has a Bowmaster that I'm going to dismember. There is the Bowmaster. Rip my life total. Ow. Yaw. And yaw. My opponent still gets their 1/1 Orc. I am at 9 life. I can untap if I would like to keep going. I am in an awkward position where I have a lot of mana and a lot of cards, but I'm not quite getting to 12. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Like, without a Cloudpost or something to help out with that, or a Tron land, I'm not really getting there. And I don't have a Monolith. I think I'm going to try to go deeper. It's scary, though. So, yeah. Okay, so Tower next turn can maybe get me to where I need to go. The next turn, I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That doesn't quite do it. Now I can't just find another One Ring. Awkward. Let's do a K command. Let's make some spawns and exile this creature. We don't have to worry about it being countered. Now I take 4, 5, 6. I can't tap this one, but I rebought the mana in this capacity. A little awkward. Get rid of a Leyline. Get rid of a Vexing Bauble. Get rid of an Ancient Tomb. That doesn't shuffle. Don't want to discard that then. Get rid of a key. Yes. I think I might end up killing myself this game between Dismember, Ancient Tomb, and the Ring. Luckily, the Urza's the Urza's Tower is the most valuable card in my hand. And that one can't be thought seized. I lose the K command. Bowmaster is still a thing that can happen. Yeah. That occurs. I'll sacrifice that spawn. My opponent does not get the Orc. Fortunately, that means that I'm not drawing towards another One Ring like I was planning on doing. So I take 4. Thank you, Leyline of the Void. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. I don't have the ability... Oh, last turn, did I have the ability to just move to the end of my turn, discard an Emrakul to hand size, and madness it in that way? Fuck, I wasn't thinking about that. I wonder if I did. I don't think I am on outs. Let's draw a card. Bowmaster pings me. That's not gonna do it. Draw a bunch of cards with the One Ring. Put a bunch of things on the stack. Be dead. Concede. That was so close. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, just the best place to keep your online deck lists, and the reason I say that is it just has so much functionality. So for example, let's take a look at some random legacy deck here. You can click on your various 2-drop slots and you can see what % chance you have of casting various things on curve, and you can get a breakdown of your mana symbols and all of that stuff, and there's a lot more here than just this. Consider checking it out. Okay, we have a reasonable opening hand here. We are going to be able to play a turn 2 Karn and then leverage that however we want to leverage that based on what we see on the other side of the battlefield. Basic swamp. Sure. Planar Nexus, 3 mana, 4 mana, cast Karn. I don't know what we are facing down yet. I still think I am tutoring here. I think I'm just going to get Liquid Metal Coating. And if my opponent doesn't do anything broken, I'll just start blowing up their lands. If they are a combo deck, then there's a decent chance that Karn the Great Creator shutting off a lot of artifact mana has already put me really far ahead. Wasteland's spooky. They take out my Planar Nexus. 2 cards entering exile. March of Wretched Sorrow. Sure. So my opponent might be in the Ox-ish ballpark. Playing most of these cards doesn't matter right now. I think I'm just going to take command on my opponent's turn. Oh, wow. My opponent not have additional mana here. Spawn and scry. Yeah. Expedition map. Play, crack, get Planar Nexus. That jumps me to 6 mana the following turn. 7, counting this spawn. I am going to say that that is good enough. And if my opponent Dark Rituals opposition agents us, such is life. So, yeah. Yeah. Does Echoing Deeps make more sense? Probably not. We'll Planar Nexus, and I can play another card here. Let's put a key in and invest in the future a bit. No saucy Eldrazi spawn attack is necessary. Well, ooh, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Cast the Underworld Cookbook. Madness costs. Pay 6 colorless. 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll pass the turn. I will discard a card. I will choose Emrakul, the World Anew. I will gain control of all of your creatures. We did the thing, folks. We did the thing. Cool. Hit for 12. Opponent goes to 12. I have 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, which seems good. Liquid Metal Coating. Karn. Liquid Metal Coating here. Yeah. I guess for super technical sequencing, I should have turned that into an artifact and then played the Karn. There's not a priority pass where my opponent can do March of Wretched Sorrow, just for playing tighter. So I don't know that I'm going to sideboard much here. I did not see much of my opponent's deck. They just did not play Magic this game. I Emrakuled all over the place. There's still a possibility that my opponent's is something like a Necropotence or a Necrodominance deck. As we saw, I think we saw Soul Spike. So a Disruptor Flute is maybe not crazy to throw into the mix, maybe at the cost of like a Basalt Monolith. This can have utility versus combo while also being decent versus Wasteland effects, which we've already seen. This is a big mana hand. We're going to keep it, and we'll see what our opponent has for us. Gonna play a dude? Okay, no, it is the Necrodominance. So, we'll see how crazy this gets here. Like, is my opponent using this in a fair or unfair capacity? Fair. So it's fuel for Exsanguinator, Cavalry, and friends. Good to know. 2 cards enter the exile zone. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Tomb, play Karn. What's Karn getting after leading on Tomb? I think it might actually be better to just not take infinite early damage. It seems like my opponent is trying to kill me in a fair-ish, emphasis on the ish capacity. I think if I lead on Tomb, there's a bunch of times where I don't end up actual factual fucking sinkhole. Cool. Where I actually end up not getting to Ulamog mana. Alright. Opponent going to 13. Now that I've lost that land, I wonder if I tomb. In case you're not super familiar with this card, your maximum hand size is 5. So, like, my opponent is Infernal Reckoning. What a wild card. Like, that's so oddly specific, but pretty reasonable in this exact matchup. Like, it makes a lot of sense. I think I'm now into Karn next turn, but not taking damage for Underworld Cookbook. Okay, opponent not going to pay the life there for that. They need to get a threat in play, preferably a lifelinking one. Like, I could pay 2 life to just convert this into another card. I don't think I'm going to do that. Like, Necrodominance does put a definite endpoint on the game. Okay. Urza Saga, really good here. My opponent is at a very low life total. So we are going to Saga, and now I can play this cookbook, and I can lead into Ancient Tomb next turn. And Urza Saga Construct tokens will kill my opponent just very, very quickly if they don't have like Wastelands and Sinkholes to follow this up. They do. Okay, now we're seeing a real magic card of some nature. Sheoldred is real good. Sheoldred Necro Dominance. Confirmed good. If you haven't seen that in action before, what my opponent can do here is pay down to 1 life, and then every life that they paid is then doubled. And this is where if my opponent has some things like the soul spikes, that they end up start being pretty reasonable. Grim Monolith. That's not bad. That can potentially get me to a point where I go and answer this Sheoldred with Kozilek's Command. Let's see. As of right now, I have 3, 4, 5, 6 mana next turn, which is this for X equals 4. So that's not quite doing it. I'm pretty likely to bleed out here. I've lost Karn rather than Kozilek's Command. Sure. This is just the other side of one of those lands. So now my opponent can do the same thing again. Regain all of that life. Go to 25. See if I get soul spiked or anything here. Seems like no. Planar Nexus. I lose 2 life to this draw. I need another turn that I am not going to get. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, and Sheoldred plus my draw step ends up killing me. I don't think I have an out with a K command. Yeah, I mean, our opponent blew up our first 3 or 4 lands. We did not get going there. So, given what I saw, how do I want to change things, or do I want to change things? Dismember for Sheoldred is a thing. There's also opposition agents and exsanguinator cavalries. I might need to play some dismembers. Let's get rid of Vexing Baubles or dismembers. It's not like Vexing Bauble has 0 text because it does matter versus the soul spikes. But it's probably more important to remove my opponent's source of life gain. And I'm not sure that cutting anything else makes that much sense. That's a lot of Ancient Tomb. That's a lot of Ancient Tomb. That's so much self-damage. Like, I have the ability to stop Wasteland and then search up something like a Planar Nexus, but I am very afraid of just dying to my own Ancient Tombs here. I'm not producing a win condition quickly. I could go Urza's Saga, I guess. Turn 1, Expedition Map and Cookbook. Turn 2, Crack Map, get Urza's Saga. I don't know. I can also just start with the Disruptor Flute and just make Wasteland never a problem. Let's do that. I don't care if this one gets Wastelanded, though, is the thing. Alright, yeah. And yeah. Pass turn. My opponent just goes Swamp Pass, representing opposition agent. Shit gets all sorts of weird. And they did. I think I'm going to Cloudpost pass. Do I flute? I think I'll flute. There's a really weird tension in my resources right now versus opposition agent. I don't necessarily think that my opponent has Wasteland right now, but it's just such a problem that I think I am going to try and mess with it. My opponent's deck has the capability of drawing just a lot of cards. Hymn to Turok is, in theory, fine, honestly. I didn't want those Ancient Tomb anyway. Joke's on you, sucker! Arn. Oh, now I kind of want the Ancient Tomb. We'll crack map around opposition agent. I think I am trying to become the beatdown now. And I'll pass the turn. Awkward. Okay. Yeah. Uh-oh. That's a Necrodominance. You've got it. So we'll see how much my opponent pays in. They're going to have to discard these cards. Like, they have 4 cards in hand. Holy fuck, 8 cards. Yeah, so my opponent is just sending a bunch of things to exile. My Urza Saga really is threatening to kill my opponent. A new Karn. I don't think that's what I am doing right now. I'm just going to pass the turn with the intention of killing my opponent with Urza Saga tokens. It's kind of a big deal that I don't have... yeah, I'll respond to that. that I don't have Lava Spur boots in the deck. Opponent's at 7, going to 1. So if they don't answer this token, they are dead. X equals 8. Yep. Alright, so my opponent does get to continue playing Magic. Urza's Workshop. I want to take some more damage. Honestly? Plus hit? Yeah. Every point of damage I do is just a card that my opponent does not get to draw later. Does mean that this is slightly more vulnerable to opposing removal. I think I am okay with that. I don't love this. Now my opponent gets to do that whole shouldered thing again. They're at 13 when that's all said and done. There is a Soul Spike, sure. Pithing Needle, not exactly the perfect draw here. Getting the One Ring, not exactly perfect either. I'm at 8, maybe 6. Thanks, I hate it. This is where, what is it, Argentum Masticore, whatever the most recent Masticore is that can kill things on cast trigger. Maybe it's not cast trigger, maybe it's at upkeep. Whatever, that sort of thing would be useful here. We are in ever so slightly weird territory here. I'm going to re-Pithing Needle Wasteland, drop a Nettle Cyst, and pass. So the hope here is that my opponent does not realize that I can discard the Karn to grow the Nettle Cyst, and my opponent attacks in with the Shouldered, thinking it's safe. Hey, we did a thing. Damn it. Yeah. Wait. I'm thinking about Nullrod Karn. I don't think that is currently favorable for me. Alright, we've got a 5/5. Oh no. There's more. An Edict. Yeah, 4 plus the trigger from my draw step does kill me. GG's. Okay, opening hand here is not unfair in any capacity. We don't have a Grim Monolith for a key. We don't have an Emrakul for this. I don't have another land that lines up well with these. I think I will just mulligan this one. Ew, this is much stronger. This one is going to be a keep. I think Glimmerpost is the worst land here. So my plan is to play this as a fair Urza's Saga hand for the first half of the game, and then convert to something more unfair later on. And this way, if my opponent has a Wasteland, the Wasteland is more likely to hit lands that I don't care about rather than my big mana lands. Let's stay the course. Let's make these construct tokens and not get too excited about the broken things that we are capable of doing. We are looking to pivot with this hand. And by that, I mean execute plan A and then pivot to plan B. We're not looking to just switch plans immediately. Sure, that's not Entomb, so I'm happy to see that. Bug colors. Ooh, I'm in trouble. We're one turn away from having Vexing Bauble, unfortunately. But this is probably a Beseech the Mirror baseline. Song of Creation. So whatever my opponent is doing here is not deterministic, but it's likely to be quite good, because every 0-cost mana spell turns into 2 cards. If any one of those is another 0-cost card or a ritual, they just keep going. Yep. We are now reaching the point where Storm is lethal. Burning Wish. That does not bode well for me. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That just gets to be Tendrils and kill me. Yeah, with one more turn, I get to a Vexing Bauble. Thoughtseize? Yeah. I will let you look at my hand. Like, I am going to make you kill me. It is quite funny to me that if I had played out this game differently, I would have potentially been able to miracle off of that. Not that it would matter, like my opponent will still Tendril me. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and just make my thing. Like, Tendrils is already lethal. I'm just going to make that thing at F6, and if I'm dead, I'm dead. If I'm not dead, cool. There's the lethal Tendrils. GG's. So, Leylines and Tormod's Crypts and such can help out a little bit versus some Beseech the Mirror lines. Disruptor Flute is a little hard to hit with, but is not crazy. Unfortunately, like, when my opponent isn't playing creatures, Emrakul the World Anew does not look particularly strong, and I don't have that many threats in my deck. I think against a dedicated combo deck, I board these out. That's probably expendable. This is slow. I'm kind of looking to get to 4 mana to Karn. Like, Karn and Vexing Bauble are the biggest things that I'm looking to do. 4, 7. I'm just going to board this in as something that punches my opponent. And this is not the time for you all. Does this leave me with enough win conditions? Karn is a hard win condition here. So 4, 7, 8 win conditions. 12 counting Urza Saga. These get me towards those win conditions. I think this is good enough, but we're not excited to be paired against this style of deck. I have good mana here, but my optics for winning this hand aren't great. So turn 1, Saga, Key. Turn 2, Monolith, untap, Karn. This is awkward. A Thoughtseize kind of tears me apart. I think after my mulligan, I am keeping. But sometimes I just die on turn 1. Or I effectively die to a Thoughtseize. And it's not great. Opponent's mulliganing pretty deep though, so luck balances out. Let's drop a key. And then we'll go ahead and pass a turn. So this is a scary turn. Seems like we've dodged the worst of it. Thank you, Leyline. Right on time. Let's drop a second Urza Saga here. World's greatest force of vigor. 2 mana. Grim Monolith. 3 mana. On tap. 5 mana. Karn. We will Karn minus here. Yes. And I've boarded in my various pieces of hate. Maybe just an expedition map. Just get something that I can physically play this turn. It's hard for my opponent to win without artifact mana. It's not impossible, but it's hard. Echo of Eons in graveyard. Sure. I'm just making a construct here. So we untap a Grim Monolith. 3 mana. Leave 1 mana floating. Make a construct. Pick up Vexing Bauble or Soul Guide Lantern. Soul Guide Lantern's kind of hot with an Echo sitting there. So we'll take out that Echo. Now, my Karn doesn't have anything great to do this turn, so let's just plus on Expedition Map. Get in for 1. And even though I'm mana bottlenecked here, hopefully this is just enough power to end the game. 3rd land drop. Echoing Truth the Karn. You've got it. That's very good. I didn't get Vexing Bauble because I was worried about the onboard Echo. We'll see if that ends up being costly. It is another Echo. Unlucky for me. And no priority pass there for me to nuke that. So my opponent has 7 fresh cards. I've got Beseech covered via Soul Guide Lantern. Or, sorry, Beseech for like a guy as well. But I don't have most other things covered right now. Sure, that's a good sign for me. Mana might be bottlenecked by color this turn from here. Sure. No black. Sure. Burning Wish with exactly enough storm to kill me. Unfortunate. Yeah, I played around Echo and got punished. I was worried about a fair Echo refueling and giving my opponent the resources that they needed to win, and that did not pan out. This specific game, it would have been better to get Vexing Bauble. Unsure whether or not that is clear more generally. Sorry, whether that is correct more generally. Yeah, I think I like this opener. I can Saga on 1 with Needle on Wasteland, and then play a fair Urza Saga game and pivot into more unfair things as the game goes on. I think I am into that. That's not bad either. Even after seeing Basic Island, I never, ever, ever want to lose this Urza Saga. It's really central to how I want to play this game. So even if my opponent's deck does not have the card Wasteland in it, I am going to name it here. And we'll see over time whether or not that's a good idea. A Flooded Strand is often an indicator of a more controlling deck, but you can't assume everything off a blue fetch land. Well, today's video is sponsored by the London Mulligan. Remember, you can take your hand of 7 cards and draw a new hand of 7 cards, and you just have to put one of them back. Doing so allows you to play Magic. It's wild to me that my opponent's hand, after looking at a couple draw steps plus a ponder plus a brainstorm, just cannot ever possibly beat an Urza Saga. I don't even know what that is supposed to say about their deck. I think I'll just whack the submit button and play the game 1 deck again. I don't think I am comfortable enough with my called shots here to know what I need to do against that. Maybe this is a combo deck where things went poorly, in which case opening up on Vexing Bauble this game is good. But I don't think I am willing enough to take the called shot of boarding in something like Leylines, this one, into Bauble. It's resolved. Psychic Frog time? Psychic Frog time. Yeah, you got it. So, 4 mana. Cast. We're going to go spawn and exile creature. Spawns, exile creature. X equals 2. Hopefully my opponent just doesn't discard a card and then immediately reanimate it. I feel like we are getting away with murder here. The next turn I have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana. I can Olamog away 2 of my opponent's lands if Grim Monolith resolves. Sure. And this hand is good now. Alright. 3 mana. Grim Monolith. 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. Olamog, cast trigger, get rid of Frog and Tundra. Well, that's one way to beat a Psychic Frog. So this is the, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Do we believe in the heart of the cards hand? And we believe in top decking Eldrazi on this channel. There's a relatively large number of draws that actually make things pretty good from here. So, like, any one of these 15 cards makes this hand fantastic. Vexing Bauble is a redraw. Expedition Map gets an Urza Saga. Urza Saga is perfectly fine as well. And we don't have to hit on the first card, I don't think. I think we have 3 or 4 draws to hit something relevant. And if we're looking at like 20, 25 cards in 3 or 4 draws, I think that's fine. We're also not bad against Wasteland here. It's not perfect. Like, sometimes I will just flood out and I'll lose this one. But I think this has enough going for it, especially given how much life this Glimmer Post can gain, that I'm good with it. That's not what I am looking for, but hopefully that doesn't matter. Yeah, and yeah. And this is where I definitely missed, like, the Sowing Mycospawn as that mid-game card that can just tutor up Eye of Ugin to find the late-game card. Thoughtseize me. Do it! Ha ha ha! I have nothing. I wonder if my opponent's going to be like a Witherbloom Apprentice combo deck list or something. Unmask target themselves. Yeah, so I think my read is correct. I think my opponent is a Reanimator deck. Ooh, Shallow Grave. Sure. I'll discard Urza's Workshop. Anyway, I think they are a Reanimator deck that either main deck or sideboard has access to the Witherbloom command Chain of Smog combo. Ball Therapy. Sure. Does that really make sense? Like, is that better than putting a new creature into the graveyard for the next Shallow Grave? Seems like no to me. The plan has changed? The plan has changed. I can also convert lands here into food tokens to just increase the size of the Urza Saga tokens. What are... Yeah. What are we doing? Okay. So, this may be a game where I kind of end up over sideboarding to respect both Reanimator and Witherbloom Apprentice Chain of Smog. And I end up boarding in like 9-ish cards. Like, leave one piece of graveyard hate to tutor for, board in all of these, try to cover both angles. Pithing Needle can go, Expedition Map can go, Basalt Monolith can go. Kozilek's Command is graveyard hate, that probably stays. I probably trim a win condition if I'm going to try to board in this many cards. This would still be 5 cuts, though. Man, do I have to stop being cute? I think I have to stop being cute. Can I trim another one? The plan is just not die. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to board in Disruptor Flute. I'm already cutting a lot of cards. What Boy, that's awkward. I'm keeping it, but it's awkward. Oh, opponent mulliganing super, super deeply here. Leyline of the Void, right-click, concede. Yeah, they're going to 4. Opponent keeps on 4. There's a leyline. Are we playing Magic? Or are you going home? Playing Magic. Hey, got the read correct. Sure. This is a may. You may have it enter tapped. We are not going to have it enter tapped here. And we're just going to play a Vexing Bauble so that future artifact mana cannot be played out. Green mana for a Worldly Tutor, presumably for another Witherbloom Apprentice. No, a Troll of Khazad-dûm. Sure. So that's going to be my opponent's next mana source. I mean, you do what you got to do after a mulligan that deep. No judgment. Okay, so my opponent has mana. They need to just find something to do, and they have kept their card. Manifold Key, not super impressive. We're just going to Cloudpost this turn, throw a key into play, and then I can hopefully start winning with Urza Saga next turn. Surveil lands are fine. My opponent is presumably looking for Witherbloom Apprentice plus Chain of Smog as their way to win this game. Kozilek's Command is fantastic. I'm going to play an Urza Saga. I don't really need to play another Vexing Bauble here. Let's just hold up a Kozilek's Command in case it somehow becomes relevant. And I'm not going to cast it end of turn to draw a card. I want to hold this. That is very good for when I get more mana. 4th land here. If exactly Witherbloom Apprentice, Chain of Smog are in my opponent's hand, that is very good for them. End of turn. Do this. Grim Monolith. Okay, what does that do? It makes me not want to activate Urza's Saga again. So that's just going to become mana. Get a key with another name. 1 mana, 2 mana, Grim Monolith. 3 mana, untap, untap again. Cast Karn. So this is now going to die. Do I have any fun Karn targets? Disruptor Flute is not bad. I think I'm into that. Minus. Yes. Disruptor Flute. 3 mana. Cast Disruptor Flute. Opponent fetches in response. We're going to name Chain of Smog. It could also go infinite with something like Sedgemoor Witch. I think that's about what we're most worried about. So then I've got another mana to play a new Vexing Bauble. Allows me to bash in for 7. We've shut off a Chrome Mox. We've shut off future artifact mana 2 different ways. We've shut off a combo kill. We've shut off the graveyard with a leyline. I think we're good. Urza's Tower. Voltaic Key. Target Grim Monolith. 3 mana. Untap. I guess let's try to win. Minus. Yes. Lattice. Yeah. This in theory shuts off all of my opponent's mana sources. They could have something like a Bowmaster, ping a Karn, stay alive. But they don't, and we managed to put 2 wins on the board with this deck, despite a little bit of a rough start. Alright, so how do we feel about this deck at the end of the day? How was Emrakul the World Anew? Generally speaking, I don't think doing this is better than doing the big mana things that exist in green. Again, Sowing Mycospawn is kind of a batshit crazy magic card. It is so much value for 4 mana. It allows you to play a bunch of singletons in your mana base that are really powerful, but a little too narrow to want to play in multiples. For what this is, I think this is relatively competitive. The Underworld Cookbook is the thing that allows your really cool madness thing to happen. And, like, we did line it up one time in a very dramatic way, and I think we madnessed it in twice throughout this league. That's a pretty good success rate. But being able to do that comes at the cost of 4 or maybe 5 slots if you want to do something like a currency converter as well. You know, would you rather draw Sowing Mycospawn or the Underworld Cookbook in the vast majority of games? And I think when you frame it like that, you can see that messing around with Emrakul, the World Anew, specifically trying to madness it in, is maybe not going to work consistently enough to be worth it, given how good other big mana things in Legacy already are. I don't think you want to lean more into the madness stuff than this deck already does. But generally speaking, I am happy with the changes I made to this deck list. I am glad that we did the thing. There's definitely some room for the improvement in the sideboard. Sean did not build one. I threw one together relatively quickly. There's room for some finesse here, but this is ready for your FNM level event. Go make some memories by casting Emrakul, the World Anew. You'll probably have a lot of fun by doing so. Plus, we beat some Psychic Frogs today, so what's not to like? Folks, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Should you need some cards, toamagic.com, promo code ThrabenU, let them know that I sent you. Alright, see ya!